Welcome back. I'm the Dungeon Coach, and I'm here to help lower that DC in your game with some outside-the-box ideas. We're talking about damage severity level in Dungeons & Dragons and how much damage does a certain trap deal. And I'm going to do a little Dungeon Master test for y'all right now. And players, you can play along with this too. Right now, you have a group of level 5 players. They walk across a trap, they trigger the trap, some sort of fire thing explodes on them, and they get dealt damage. How much damage does it deal? This is a dangerous trap, but you want to hit right in the middle. You don't want it to be too dangerous to where it's going to kill somebody, and you don't want it to be too weak to where they're like, they laugh at it after. What's the damage? How much dice right now? Think about it. What do you got? How much damage? Again, I said a level 5 party triggers some sort of fire explosion trap. Oh no, and the first person in line gets hit by it or something, right? Or maybe the whole group gets hit by it. Who knows what happens with the trap? How much damage would it be? Leave a comment right now, while this video is going. You can still leave comments while the video is happening. I don't know if you knew that. But I want to see what kind of damage would be dealt in there. And then you can obviously go back and edit it later and we can talk about stuff. But if you weren't able to answer the question because you were going to say something along the lines of like, oh, it depends on the context. I'd have to be in the moment, or that's what game prep's for and all that kind of stuff. Sometimes you're going to run a game and your players are going to do some stuff and they're going to need to get a little bit of this, right? Whether it be damage from a trap or damage from a little skirmish or a skill challenge, whatever sort of setback or hazard that's going to happen to them to deal damage, you might have to make that up on the fly. So in this video, I'm going to share with you my damage severity level. There is one in the Dungeon Master's Guide, but there is 2 different versions I have to try and help you guys with these on the fly thoughts, because I really do like both of these systems I'm going to show here. And then at the end, I'll share what I actually do with kind of a mix of both, because how much damage this type of stuff deals is kind of a feel type thing. You got to really pulse check, feel it out. Also, if you're unfamiliar, everything that I'm sharing with you guys right now has already been available in my Alkenner's Almanac of All Things book. All the different screen excerpts that you're going to see coming up on the screen are from my book, Alkenner's Almanac, which is an expansion to 5th edition. This is just one of the hundreds of rules in there. So let's go. First thing we gotta get on the same page about is the severity level. Whenever I say the word severity and different words associated with it, how severe is this thing? And that is up to you as a dungeon master of how challenging you want this to be. The example I gave was right in the middle of dangerous. But in my head, I have 5 different settings with dangerous in the middle and 2 on each side. Showing the chart here, we're gonna look at it. Inconvenient is the first one. This is a little inconvenience. It's light damage, but everybody's really fine. It's just a little bit of a light tax on that health. Hits them, makes it a little bit, just the babiest slap you could possibly get. The second notch up from that is a setback. This is something that's now respectable amount of damage that's very inconvenient and not, dang it, it's a setback. Nobody's gonna go unconscious from this thing though. Everybody's gonna be fine. Then we have dangerous. In my head, this means someone might go unconscious, especially if they were already low in health. Then we're gonna ratchet it up one more notch. And this is where I would start to be careful as a dungeon master not to do these next two too terribly much, which we'll talk more about that at the end. But deadly is next. Someone will go unconscious probably from this. Like, this is real bad. The amount of damage that a deadly trap should be deadly. That's what the word is. And then I do have a 5th setting, which I very, very rarely use. And maybe I'd use something like this like once or twice per campaign for something very, very big. Extremely deadly. Someone might instantly die from this. So it's instantly die, I mean get knocked from full health all the way down to nothing. And if you're super low on health already it could be actual, maybe a death. So in general, I was going to wait till later to say this, but I got to say it now just because I don't want people to just run off and run away with this, is very rarely do I ever use this level 5 setting of extremely deadly. And also, I very rarely do I use the deadly setting unless the players know about it and they see it coming and they know, and they should have known better type thing. They're recklessly going through a dungeon where there's a known amount of traps and there's coming up to a certain spot and they just take the thing and they're just being reckless. I don't feel as bad, right, in that type of thing. But if there ever is something where you're going to setting 4 and 5 on this deadly plus type level, you need to make sure that there was some sort of warning signs along the way, and cross your fingers that your players put it together and all that kind of stuff. But also setting 1, I don't use very often as well. The inconvenient trap, it just doesn't have as much of an impact to it, but it does have its place. So in general, I usually stick between setback and dangerous. Setback being my default go-to, and dangerous being the ones that are a little bit more special. So now that we're all on the same page with that, now we have to start talking about what type of dice to roll and how many. Time out for the sponsor of this video, World Anvil. Do you find it inconvenient to do your world prep and world building, or is it you have multiple setbacks along the way? See, I connected the traps. Anyway, World Anvil is literally set up to do your world building for you. I have gone through a World Anvil with an intent of building a world, and it's asked me and it's prompted based on all the different spots. It has all these different things filled out for you that you can, what would that be? World Anvil is designed to pull out the world from your own brain and help you in that process. I really do appreciate what World Anvil does, and it speaks to me because I try and do the same thing for you guys to help your games, help your prep, help your worlds to be able to customize it to yourself. And that's what World Anvil is all about, is to try and make it easier on you, lighten the load on you to help build out your world and share it with your players. There's so many awesome tools inside of this thing that they keep adding to, with mind maps and timelines to really help organize your world logistically and physically. I've gone and used their timeline tool and actually been able to wrap my head around some weird time stuff. You know, when you start thinking about time stuff, it all puts it out there on a timeline for you, and it really makes sense. So if you want to take your world building to the next level, you want to go poke around for free, click the link down in the description and you can see what kind of options they have for you. So big thank you to World Anvil for sponsoring this video, and now let's roll some dice and kill some characters. All right, so now we've talked about severity in 5 different levels, but what's also beautiful is there's 5 different kinds of damage dice. See where I'm going with this? So we have this chart right here. Inconvenient. If it's an inconvenient trap or setback or skill challenge or whatever it is that's causing them damage in this improvised way. A bar fight breaks out and you want to see how much damage they took from the bar fight, whoever, whatever. There's many different ways you can run this. Inconvenient is a D4, setback is a D6, dangerous is a D8, deadly is a D10, and extremely deadly is a D12. And if you see at the top of this handy dandy little chart, in fact, I'm going to make it really big right now so you can screenshot it. You can see size of dice times party level. That is how you use it. So if your party is level 1 and they get a setback, that is 1d6 amount of damage they take. If they're level 1 and it's extremely deadly, that's 1d12 amount of damage they take. So even just that right there at a level 1 party, it kind of works really smoothly. Little slap on the wrist, D4. Big, huge trap, D12. And you also can see now how this kind of affects things, because you got to think about the health of your party. At level 1, they have their hit dice, max hit dice worth of hit points. So a wizard has 6 hit points plus their constitution. A barbarian has 12 hit points plus their constitution. So keeping that in mind, this extremely deadly D12 could kill the wizard, of course, stereotypically, but also it could really mess up the barbarian. That's why it's extremely deadly, because you got to think about all the different party members in your group, from the healthiest to the weakest, which is also why I love dice in this way, scaling the threat level from D4 to D12, because characters' hit points, their hit dice, literally the dice they use as they level up. Every time you level up, you roll a hit dice, add your constitution modifier. Roll a hit dice, add your constitution modifier. So it works so perfectly here with this table, because if you're a level 5 party and you have a dangerous trap, which was the thing in the beginning of the video, right? In the beginning of the video, I said, a level 5 party, you're going through here, a big fire trap, whatever. Oh my God, what happens? How much damage? Instantly, if you're using this system, you can think dangerous right in the middle. I'm using D8s. My party's level 5. You know what level your party is. Right now, you know what level your party is in the campaign you're running. You know what level your character is, whatever. So level 5 characters, that is 5 D8s. Done. If it's an inconvenient trap and you didn't want to be as punishing for them, slide that over to D4 and it's 5 D4s. You want to kill somebody, it's 5 D12s. It's actually just really, really smooth. Right now in my Curse of Strahd campaign, my players are level 4. So I know if a trap happens, I already have this table in my head of the dice, D4 to D12. You don't even have to pair them with the words or whatever. D4 to D12, and then I think of how severe it is. And I'm like, oh, this is going to be a D8 version. And I know my players are level 4, so then times 4 D8s, whatever. Now, the true method that I use with this, I'll talk about in a second, because I do want to present both methods, because there is another method, and that's the spirit of Alkandar's Almanac, this book that I published and everything. Link for that's always down in the description too. But in Alkandar's Almanac, rules across the board, not all of us want to run our games the same. Not every idea that I'm going to share here in these videos on this channel you're going to love, and I completely understand that, but I want to give you options so that you can choose which one's best for you or modify it to make it what's best for you. So option 2 here is the scaling D6 method. In this method, instead of having the 5 different severity levels and you have a D4 to a D12, it is just a D6. That makes things a little bit easier. So all you have are D6 to worry about. And in this situation, here's the chart. There's a severity chart. I'll make it sure it's real big so you can screenshot this one as well if you want. But you have a severity level of setback, dangerous, deadly. Only 3 settings. Again, this is fine because I would very rarely use deadly and mainly stay between setback and dangerous. And then since all we're rolling is D6, we just have to determine how many D6 we roll. And if it's a setback, you roll half your party's level, round it up. So if you have that level 5 party, half of 5 is 2.5, rounded up to 3. So you'd roll 3 D6. A dangerous amount of damage would be your party's level in D6s. So that would, for a level 5 party, that would be 5 D6. And Deadly, if you really want to knock somebody out, is double that, so 10d6. So for another example, let's get absolutely crazy using both systems, and let's have a level 12 party, and let's use the scaling d6 method. So a level 12 party with a setback is 6d6. And for a level 12 party, 6d6, you know, it's gonna hurt them. It's not inconvenient, which is again why I kind of like the other system that has the 5 settings of difficulty. But you would use 6d6, 12d6, or 24d6 for that group scaling damage. But on the other system for this level 12 group, you're gonna always have 12 dice. You're always rolling 12 dice. That variable's taken out of it. And you gotta decide if I'm using 12d4s, oh my gosh, that's a lot, or 12d12s, oh my God. That's a lot. Don't do that one. Unless you want to be extremely deadly, but you get the idea. So now, the third method of what I truly use, because if you just now thought, and whenever I presented the level 12, if that gets a little bit like, yo, 12 d4s, that seems dumb. That's too much. I don't want to roll that many dice. Quick little Dungeon Master math tip there. If you don't want to roll 12 d4s, then just half the amount of dice and double the size of the dice. So instead of 12 d4s, you could roll 6 d8s. It'll be about the same or close enough. But now in general, how I use this at my tables whenever I have to come up with these improvised damage on the fly, I think of the 5 different dice sizes, D4 to D12, and I'm thinking about how severe it is. And then once I think of how severe it is, let's say I'm going to go with the dangerous one. So let's say that's the level 5 group. We'll use that same analogy from the beginning of the whole situation. There's some sort of fire trap. It goes off on one player, right? So in the moment right there, I'm instantly thinking level 5, 5 dice, and I've chosen the D8. So in my head, I am thinking 5d8. Now, I don't mindlessly just do 5d8. I now am a human being and an experienced dungeon master, and I think, how is 5d8 here? And at least now it's not a random number of 4d6, you know, that I'm just pulling out of nowhere. At least now I have a system that I'm working within, and I immediately think of 5d8, and then I evaluate the situation, and I at least have a reference point. Do I want to do 5d8, or maybe I should do 5d6. If I think of 5d8 initially and I'm like, that's too much, I can just scale it down. I can scale it down in multiple ways. I could do, I'm gonna go a little easy on them. Instead of 5d8, I'm gonna do 4d8. That feels good. And then I do a 4d8 trap. So probably in this hypothetical fire trap, I would have done 4d8 because maybe I want to not be too severe. Or instead of 5d8, you could go 5d6. And if that, you know, that gut feeling whenever you first think of a number, and if this calculation gives you some amount of dice and you're like, that's too much, then scale it back one. So I hope this video helped you think outside the box and give yourself a system to be able to improvise on. Because by no means would I ever use this system exactly, well, the Dungeon Coach's table says it's going to be this much damage, I gotta roll 12 d8s. No. If that level 12 party, 12 d8s for the inconvenient thing for them. So if it's a 12 d4s and you want it to be an inconvenient little bit of damage, maybe not 12 d4s, do 6 d4s. Sure, 6 d4s, roll those, a little bit of inconvenient damage, there you go. Because as things scale up with character level, you might not feel as much of that little baby slap on the wrist, and that might start to feel 12 d4s, oh my God. But again, they're at level 12, they can handle it. So let me know what you think about this system down below. This is a big part of Alcantar's Almanac of all things. That is always linked down in the description, because that's the whole goal of this book, is to pitch multiple different ideas in every single aspect of the game, giving you multiple options to be able to find your best way to run your games, play your games, and get across the field you want. So stay creative, think outside the box. Peace.